pray. O Lord, we give thanks for the bounty of our province, our land, our resources, and our people. We pledge ourselves to act as good stewards on behalf of all Albertans and Canadians. Amen.
Introduction of visitors. Presenting petitions. Reading and receiving petitions.
Member for Edmonton Avonmore.
Mr. Speaker, I do now request that the petition I tabled yesterday be read and received.
Thank you.
We, the undersigned, petition the Legislative Assembly of Alberta to urge the Alberta government to immediately provide adequate support for treatment programs for abusive men, including the Changing Ways program in Edmonton. Presenting reports by standing and special committees. Notices of motions. Introduction of bills.
Member for Dunvegan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It gives me a pleasure today to introduce Bill 27, Rural Districts Act. This act is to allow improvement districts to become rural districts without going directly to a municipal district. And I look forward to debate in second and committee of supply.
The Honourable Member for Dunvegan has moved first reading of Bill 27, Rural Districts Act. Those in favor of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Motion carries.
Bill number 27, Rural Districts Act, introduced by the Honourable Member Mr. Flagg, is now read a first time. Member for Calgary Mountain View.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request leave to introduce Bill number 297, the Alberta Institute of Aboriginal Languages Act. Mr. Speaker, this bill, if adopted, would create an institute to preserve and promote the retention and use of Aboriginal languages in Alberta. The institute created would be empowered to do a number of things, among them to work with educational institutions and communities, to conduct research, provide scholarship assistance, and develop teaching materials and programs.
The Honourable Member of Calgary Mountain View has moved first reading of Bill 297, the Alberta Institute of Aboriginal Languages Act. Those in favor of first reading, please say aye.
Opposed, please say no.
Motion carries.
Bill number 297, Alberta Institute of Aboriginal Languages Act, introduced by the Honourable Member Mr. Hawksworth, is now read a first time. Tabling return.
Speaker, I move the Bill 27, Rural Districts Act, placed on the order paper
Under Government Bills and Orders.
Having heard the motion, those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no.
Carried.
Tabling returns and reports.
Minister of Recreation and Parks.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I stand to table 4 copies of the answer to motion for return 199.
Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to file with the Assembly response to, or table rather, response to motion for return 267.
Honourable members, I table with the Assembly the report of the Chief Electoral Officer as submitted under the provision of the Election Finance and Contributions Disclosure Act, dealing with the Court of Queensland's decision for the Electoral Division of Edmonton Calder at the 1986 general election.
Introduction of special guests.
Minister of Tourism.
It is my pleasure today to introduce to you and
Through you to the members of the Legislative Assembly,
48 young and enthusiastic students in the J.E. LaPointe School in Beaumont. We had their tour earlier. I wish they would stand and receive the warm welcome of this Assembly.
Minister of Education.
I introduce to you and to all members of this Assembly today the President of the Alberta Federation of Home and School Associations, Mrs. Carolyn Brooks. It's a pleasure, Mr. Speaker, because not only does Mrs. Brooks represent the parents of some 450,000 students across this province,
therefore a very important participant in the education process. But I've also had the pleasure of meeting today with Mrs. Brooks when she presented to me the resource book for the literacy exchange, an important resource for parents to help plant and allow to flourish the seeds of literacy that are so important in every one of our children. I asked Mrs. Brooks to stand, a very good friend and a very good friend of education, and ask all members of the Assembly to give her a warm welcome.
For Pascal Act, followed by Three Hills, followed by the Minister of Career Development and Employment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to introduce to the Assembly 20 bright students from the prosperous community of Grassland in my constituency. They are students of public manner, and also Supervisor Michael Kamelchuk. And along with the group is former pages here, which served earlier last fall, Ryan Menon. I'd like to group to stand and get the traditional warm welcome to the Assembly.
Three Hills.
Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure today to, on behalf of my colleague, the member for Banff Cochrane, Mr. Brian Evans, to introduce a group from the Chinook Winds Adventist Academy. There are 13, Mr. Speaker.
And Dr. Gary
Ziegenhagel and bus driver Ron Westerdahl. I'd ask them all to rise
in the members' gallery and receive a warm welcome
to the Assembly.
Minister of Career Development and Employment.
Mr. Speaker, it's a pleasure to introduce to you to members of the Assembly a group of 48 grade 6 students from the constituency of Fort McMurray attending Birchwood School. Their teachers are Miss Eva Zoltai, Miss Carol DeJoy, as well as parents Mr. Lloyd Scott, Mr. Brian Johnson, and Mrs. Patty Moritz. They're seated in the public gallery. I'd ask them to rise and receive the welcome of the Assembly.
Ministerial statements.
Oral question period.
Mr. Speaker, to the Minister of Health, Mr. Speaker, today is a sad day for the pensioners of our province because today the first round of the slugfest against senior benefits takes effect, Mr. Speaker. Some time ago, the New Democrats warned this government that its cuts to benefits payable to seniors the dental benefits regulation will force dentists to groundsville seniors for the amount of the province's abdication in this area. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to file with the Assembly copies of 2 letters I received from an Edmonton dentist, one protesting the cutback to the Minister of Culture and one sent to his senior patients announcing that he has been forced to balance bill seniors for dental services, Mr. Speaker. My question to the Minister is this. Given that this policy of cutting seniors benefits now resulted in dentists being forced to balance bill seniors, what does the minister have to say to the seniors of our province? Does he still stand by the story that there were no cutbacks to seniors, Mr. Speaker?
Mr. Speaker, I certainly have never denied that there were changes in our programs, and one of those in the province.
And as I've repeated on the House, but I think it bears repeating again, we provide dental and optometric programs that are available virtually nowhere else in Canada for our senior citizens.
We are asking seniors to pay cost sharing of some of the dental assistance
provided. Dentists, as we all know, can charge what they wish to for programs. Some have chosen not to balance bill with seniors. Some have. However, the first purpose of this program is to ensure that we provide some assistance,
substantial assistance, in fact, Mr. Speaker, for dental and optometric benefits for seniors.
The programs are going out with attack against our seniors, Mr. Speaker, and we should get that through their thick skulls on that side, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this dentist points out in his letter that the province has reduced funding from 54.6% of the normal 1990 dental fee for seniors to 45.2%. Have 6%, he can no longer afford to absorb the cost of the province's failed responsibility in this area. Mr. Speaker, he also goes on to strongly criticize the government's cut to laboratory dental work, where the government did pick up 100%. Now only picks up 80%. My question to the minister again, how does this Minister of Health justify doing that will force seniors to pay more for such essential health items as dentures and bridge work? These are not frivolous items.
Mr. Speaker, I must say I find it odd to hear the leader of the New Democrats defending the level of income for dentists for the Assembly. Shocking. But let's be help that we do provide for seniors. With respect to the dental goods, that includes restorative, surgical, and prosthetic dental care and repairs to dentures. There are a list of the services that
We do fund under the program. That has not changed in this year. There are specific
not a dental care. But it is what it was set out to be, which is assistance to seniors up to $960 for the period, which is not offered up to them.
Speaker, that is totally irrelevant. The seniors have made that clear to this government, Mr. Speaker. This is a cutback in the benefits that we have in this province. Mr. Speaker, I might say what he's telling the seniors of this province, not the dentists, Speaker, because those are the ones that are going to suffer. Right. Mr. Speaker, also, of course, today will be the governor's assistance to seniors is cut for by eyeglasses, over-the-counter prescription medicines, essentially important items to seniors of this province. My question is a very simple one. Why doesn't this government for once admit that it's made a terrible mistake, Mr. Speaker? Admit this and roll back and repeal these unnecessary cuts on seniors, Mr. Speaker. They'd even get some credit.
Mr. Speaker, I believe
that the changes that we've made in our budget are not only a good budget that help in this province with a 10% increase, but also a good budget for seniors. I also know that the opposition's total response to any kind of difficult choices that have to be made is to say, they have actually two responses. The first response is to say, give more money to it. The second response is to defend the status quo.
well, this government is
one of those resolve to ensure that we present a balanced budget to the 21st century of this province, and we are resolved to ensure that our health programs and health benefits continue to be amongst the best in this nation.
They can pound all they like. The seniors are going to send them a message the next
Not that
Mr. Speaker, my second question,
I guess we'll go to the provincial treasurer, Mr. Speaker.
the economic news in Alberta has not been good recently, Mr. Speaker. Thousands of layoffs in the province, but I want to say especially the Calgary area has been hard hit, Mr. Speaker. Now, there have been hospital layoffs. Order. I understand the nervousness, Mr. Speaker, but there have been hospital layoffs in Calgary, Petro-Canada, Canada Package, Magnesium Canada, layoffs at SAIT, ALCB, warehouse, so on and so forth. But, Mr. Speaker, there's some very serious rumors going around about Novotel, Mr. Speaker. And we all know how much that costs the taxpayers. People have already been laid off. But I understand that there may be another rumor that the minister is in Calgary dealing with this matter, Mr. Speaker. So to the treasurer, rather than hearing second-hand rumors, will the minister tell us, will the treasurer tell us, if it is true that up to 400 employees in Calgary are in the end of the job?
Speaker, is accustomed to tough not to deal with rumors. The member from Norwood has said that he has some speculation or some rumor. I can't comment on that. What I can comment on, Mr. Speaker, though, is this. Alberta's economy rated best in Canada.
Not by a government, not by
Speaker, but by external people who look at economies. They have said that Alberta's economy rated best. Now, that's a far cry from what's happened with those governments that have been run by NDP parties, Mr. Speaker. A far cry.
We've seen a clear evidence of that yesterday, where the mismanagement of the Liberal Party, compounded by the mismanagement of the NDP Party, has put that government in some
Straight. We do know in Alberta, Mr. Speaker, is the following. Alberta has the strongest economic growth of any province in Canada. Alberta has more investment or more new jobs created here than any province in Canada, Mr. Speaker.
and Alberta is on the course of prosperity, Mr. Speaker. It is here.
You know, just typical of this minister. Go around, shout all around, avoid the issue, Mr. Speaker. The question was about no. And I want to ask this treasurer again. Does he not think it's fair that we have millions of dollars in this company, and there's been these rumors going around about possible job losses, Mr. Speaker? Does he not see it reasonable here in the Assembly to tell us what's going on, Mr. Speaker? That's what we want to know about.
Speaker, I have carried on one tradition in this Assembly, Mr. Speaker. That's to deal with facts.
Speaker, but what we have.
His own mouth, Mr. Speaker, is that he's dealing with rumors, Mr. Speaker. Now, since the member from Norwood has raised the question of Mr. Stewart's absence, I can tell you that Mr. Stewart is ill today. And that's a
reasonable reason to be away from the Assembly, in my mind, Mr.
Speaker. There's nothing else that's involved here. What I can say, Mr. Speaker, is we've already announced some adjustments to the member, the Minister of Technology, Research and Telecommunications will return when he's better, and we'll deal with that issue. If there's any changes, he will update the Assembly. But what needs to be put on the record, Mr. Speaker, is what this government has attempted to do time and time again, to show clearly that the policies of diversification are working in this province, to show that this province is successful in generating new jobs, in driving
and providing new opportunities for the youth of this province, Mr. Speaker. And that's the continuing commitment of this government, and that's the continuing commitment of this caucus of ours, and that's what this province wants to hear from the people of Alberta. Infrastructure is at a new height. New universities, Mr. Speaker.
Amazing investment in the youth of this
Province through new jobs and new investment. We're creating the environment for investment
and for economic activity, and
just because the treasurer says that doesn't automatically follow. The reality, Mr. Speaker, is there's been thousands of jobs lost since the budget, Mr. Speaker.
That's the reality. But I want to come back
to this treasurer, Mr. Speaker. I want to ask him once and for all, tell us in the Assembly what we're supposed to know. Are 400 jobs been lost in Calgary at Novotel? Yes or no, Mr. Speaker? Answer the question.
But Speaker, I've indicated to you that the management group, the Minister of Technology, Research and Telecommunications, has commented before that the management group who have been charged with the review of this company are in the process of examining and restructuring that company. As to whether or not any layoffs will take place, I don't know at this point, Mr. Speaker. There's been several rumors. There's been, as the members pointed out, but I have no other comment about rumors, Mr. Speaker.
Before the next member is recognized, the chair draws to the attention that a document was filed which cannot be accepted.
Citation 498. The leader of the opposition attempted to file this document during this first series of questions, but under 498.1, an unsigned letter cannot be read in the House.
Subsection 3, when quoting a letter in the House, a member must be willing either to give the name of the author or to take full responsibility
for the contents. The letter is not signed, and it carries no letterhead either.
Still not signed. Member for Calgary Northwest. Calgary Northwest.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, yesterday in the House we tabled the minutes of a meeting between the Cabinet and the Calgary Chamber of Commerce in which the Minister for Economic Development and Trade claimed a success rate of 90% on the loan guarantees that have been offered by this government. Recently, the Treasurer upped the ante and said a 95% success rate. Now, even allowing for disbelief between these two numbers, this discrepancy amounts to a $100 million difference. So I have a brief question to the Treasurer to which I'd appreciate a brief answer, and that is, I think Albertans have a right to know whether you've lost $100 million or $200 million. To the Treasurer, which...
Mr. Speaker, I'm glad the member raised that question. Let me indicate to you that just before the budget process, we tabled in the House a very extensive reporting on the guarantees which have been committed to by this province, and in the budget update, I in fact included the list of guarantees up to January of 1991. The public accounts show, Mr. Speaker, that at the March 31st, 90 period, which is the last reporting date, there were $2.7 billion worth of loans outstanding and guarantees, and that included a variety of more than economic initiatives, Mr. Speaker, including our moral commitment to the financial institutions, student loans, for example, and other kinds of guarantees which were swept into that number. But the member could examine it very clearly and carefully himself. You'll find that of the $2.7 billion worth of guarantees, public account losses, clearly reported and audited by the Auditor General, show $33 million worth of write-offs against those guarantees. Now, you don't have to, even the member, Mr. Brissiker, can in fact make that calculation of faith, which would show that the number would be about 1.8% provision. Now, we're saying that as we move to this year, we're seeing some corrections. We know that, for example, student loan losses have reduced this year as opposed to increased, Mr. Speaker. We think that the number which the member suggested, the 95% number, is approximately in the area. We'll provide more information and continually update that in the next couple of accounts, which are audited by the auditor, and that'll be fully available for the member to look at when those are provided.
Well, supplementary to that, I'm pleased the Treasurer raised the public accounts, because for 1990 it shows that there's a $94 million, in the languages, allowance for doubtful loans and advances versus total guarantees of $190 million. Now, for the Treasurer's calculation, that's only a 51% success rate. So my question to the Treasurer, can the Treasurer explain why there's such a tremendous gap between what he's telling Albertans when he's making a speech and what's published in our public accounts right here?
The only gap, Mr. Speaker, is in the member's mind. He doesn't understand the public accounts. Does not understand the public accounts, Mr. Speaker. I would love to give him a detailed explanation to the difference between an investment in an entity and a guarantee. And he's made the confusion. I'm not going to provide the explanation.
Supplementary to the Treasurer, simply this, to the Treasurer, your credibility is on the line here. I think that people don't believe your balanced budget, people don't believe that you're going to deal with the debt, and people don't believe this 95% success rate. And so the question I have to the Treasurer is, can you show us, since you just suggested you would, can you show us proof positive that the numbers you claim are correct? Will you show us those documents?
Now, Mr. Speaker, when it comes to belief, and when it comes to efficacy of wisdom, Mr. Speaker, I would never look to the Liberal Party for that kind of reassurance, Mr. Speaker. I simply have to ask the Albertans, who was it that gave us the National Energy Program, Mr. Speaker? Who was it that gave us the National Energy Program? And who was it that gave us the Ontario government position up until about 3 months ago, Mr. Speaker? People of Alberta know the answer to that one. They know the answer to that one, Mr. Speaker. Speaker, I would draw the member's attention to the public accounts. The information is clearly set out there. If he goes back and checks other references which I have made in this House with respect to the loan guarantees and the provisions, I think the sections have been quoted. I won't give it to him off the top of my mind, but I think it's 2.5. However, I'll confirm that for him. He can check it out, and he can get his vast research department, the $400,000 investment in his research department, to look at it, Mr. Speaker. It'll keep him busy for some time, I'm sure.
Lesser Slave Lake Fall by Edmonton Avonmore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Alberta has been the host for a National Indian Economic Development Conference in the last few days. It's exciting to see that the entrepreneurial spirit amongst Native people is healthy and indeed is on the rise. Good news, Mr. Speaker, and not the doom and gloom that we've been hearing all along, and so happy to see this happening. Would the Minister of Economic Development and Trade indicate how this government has played a role in developing Native entrepreneurs to become self-sufficient and thus create jobs for the unusual high unemployment on Native communities?
Mr. Speaker, let me begin by sharing with the honourable member that this government has taken a leadership role as it relates to Native issues.
If one looks at the land entitlement with the Fort Chip, Sturgeon Lake, and Whitefish bands and the leadership role the Premier has played as it relates to land entitlement, her own role as it relates to Métis self-determination. And we're proud that we can play a small role, too, as it relates to economic development amongst our Native population, whereby we see major projects such as LPAC having a specific Native component as it relates to their project. Our department has involved itself directly as it relates to counseling, also in helping the Native population access programs, plus we provided direct financial assistance. The conference of which the honourable member spoke of, we were happy to participate directly and in a financial basis. We're delighted to work closely with this Native population that plays a very important role as it relates to the economic development of this great province of ours.
I must commend this government for what it has done for Native people, not just hound people like crazy around here. The oil industry provided many small Native entrepreneurs a start. How will we provide encouragement from our government for greater participation in proposed economic development initiatives in the forest industry, and particularly in the Lesser Slave Lake constituency?
Mr. Speaker, we're more than happy to work with the Native population and work directly with the member, because she has herself taken a leadership role as it relates to the development of our Native population. As she is aware, too, we did have a 3-year pilot project of which we worked directly with Native groups. We are going to continue with that direct liaison whereby they can access our departmental counseling, plus we've offered them some interim financing so that we can help with the development of the Native population as it relates to the business community, again acknowledging the contribution that they can make.
Evanton Avamore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My questions are to the Minister of Family and Social Services. Mr. Speaker, we have received calls from volunteer sector agencies about being forced to accept fee-for-service funding in place of grant funding. And agencies like Group 5 Youth Counseling Center will be forced to abandon their broad mandates of service, advocacy, education, and innovation. Boards of directors of these agencies contemplate closing agencies' doors when faced with the betrayal of the agency's mandate and the difficulties inherent in the fee-for-service funding. My question to the Minister is, will he now rescind his decision to replace grant funding with fee-for-service funding and commit to meeting with volunteer boards in order to find a mutually acceptable solution?
Mr. Speaker, I'm always prepared to meet with volunteer boards and agencies across this province, and that is an ongoing commitment and goes without question, Mr. Speaker. As it relates to the specific agency that the member referred to, Mr. Speaker, no, I won't commit to rescind a decision that we've made.
Mr. Speaker, when we hear that a fee-for-service funding structure may mean that child victims will not be accompanied by a therapist when they go to testify in court, and that volunteer board members may have to provide collateral for a line of credit in order to pay the staff and the rent, we have to question the minister's commitment to children. My question to the minister: will the minister now explain to this assembly what action he will take to ensure that the best interests of children will not be sacrificed to the need to balance the budget?
Mr. Speaker, let me make it very clear that our commitment to children is first and foremost. And in this particular situation, Mr. Speaker, what we really are putting first and foremost is children. What we're really talking about, Mr. Speaker, is options and choices for children. Now, here in the city of Edmonton, there were 3 or 4 agencies that were funded by contract. We've changed them over to a fee-for-service basis, Mr. Speaker, to make them on equal footing, Mr. Speaker, with the other many agencies in this city that are able to function very effectively, very efficiently, and on behalf of children, Mr. Speaker. What we've done in this situation is we've recognized that in this instance that the contract for services was a very costly means of providing these services. Mr. Speaker, through this process, and I would think the member would be delighted, through this process, we're going to make sure that not just one agency is available to children, but many agencies are available to children, and that parents and frontline social workers will be able to choose from any of those agencies on an equal basis.
Thank you. The chair apologizes for a side comment it made to some honorable members who are making a lot of noise up at this end of the chamber. But there's a growing tendency in here to have too many of these conversations, and the general noise level picks up. It's very difficult for all members to hear, including the chair. Edmonton Meadowlark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the government's own environmental impact assessment on the Buffalo Lake Stabilization Plan establishes that 87% of the benefit of this project will accrue to 780 lakeshore property owners. This represents, Mr. Speaker, a direct monetary value of $15,000 to each of these property owners from Alberta taxpayers. At the same time, Mr. Speaker, in fact, the Water Resources Act authorizes government to assess directly those people who will benefit from a project of this nature, their share of the costs of this project. My question is to the Premier. Why will the Premier not invoke the Water Resources Act and require that the property owners in the Buffalo Lake area, each and every one of them, his neighbors, be assessed directly their share of the cost of this otherwise irresponsible project?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the honourable member obviously had a question for the Minister of Environment, and him not being here has wanted to lay it off in some way. I'm not even sure, when we have a panel now that has been appointed by the Minister, a panel of 3 respected Albertans who are holding hearings on this matter, we should even participate in trying to discuss it until they come in with their report.
I have a sneaking suspicion, Mr. Speaker, that the Premier knows a great deal about the status of this project and where it's going. My question is to the Premier. How can the Premier even consider for one moment handing each of those 780 property owners, each and every one of them his neighbors, $15,000 of Alberta taxpayers' money for no more, for none other than their own benefit, and certainly for the net benefit of absolutely nobody else in this entire province?
Mr. Speaker, I don't know whether the honourable member wants to persist along this line when he knows the Minister of Environment is responsible for it, but I should point out to him that the matter that the three-person panel is looking into is a matter which provides water to the town of Muir, water to the town of Alex. It prevents flooding on farmlands along the Parlby Creek, and also it has the potential to improve the stabilization of Buffalo Lake. It's a very complex but important project in central Alberta. Now, the Minister of Environment has seen fit to have public hearings on this matter and has appointed 3 respected Albertans, and we should wait and have their report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Honourable Minister of Economic Development and Trade. The Alberta Pacific Forest Industries will commence construction of their $1.6 or $1.3 billion pulp mill today, creating thousands of much-needed jobs for my constituency, Mr. Speaker, possibly the end of welfare to end poverty for a lot of my constituents in northern Alberta. Mr. Speaker, not like the Ontario's economic vision where they chase away industries and create welfare. Alberta, we don't do that. My question, Mr. Speaker, to the Honourable Minister is, will the Minister brief this Assembly as to what impact this industry will have in Alberta?
Mr. Speaker, the impact is going to be enormous, and we're delighted that we can involve ourselves with a project that is most environmentally sound, probably the most environmentally sound throughout the world. It's going to follow through as it relates to our further economic diversification within this province. If you talk about jobs, there's going to be thousands of jobs created, the gravel haulers, water haulers, construction workers. And I commend the honourable member for the leadership role that he has played, because if we look at just the jobs, some 2,800 jobs in construction, some 440 ongoing jobs once it's completed, some 660 jobs as it relates to collecting the wood supply. The spin-off jobs are enormous. For his region alone, some 825 jobs. And on a province-wide basis, an additional 825 jobs. Not only that, Mr. Speaker, but it's important as it relates to the taxation component that will accrue to the county in which they're locating, but also to the provincial government, because it is important that we have individuals working creatively so that we can in turn continue with our strong social support through health, education, and our environmental policies.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My supplement is to the Honourable Minister of Career Development and Employment. Now that we will have jobs in my region finally, we will need a lot of training programs to make sure that people access jobs that are going to be there. Could the Minister brief this Assembly as to what action his department is taking to make sure that local people access these jobs?
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's a very important facet of the overall program, and I must say thanks and compliments to the honourable member for his input and his deliberations and discussions we've had. But in addition to the $9 million forestry training program announced by our government last year, we'll be working closely with the Opportunity Corps both in Calling Lake and in Lac La Biche. In addition to that, Mr. Speaker, we're initiating setting up a mobile training center that will be located in the near proximity of the plant and in his constituency. This will be a first in Alberta, Mr. Speaker, I might add, and on trial project. We'll be endeavoring to assist and develop local training programs so there'll be long-term, meaningful jobs for those local citizens.
Calgary Mountain View.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At 2:30 this afternoon, Novotel made announcements in Calgary of layoffs worldwide of 387 employees. 340 of those job losses will be in Calgary. No wonder the provincial treasurer said the Minister of Technology...
Honourable member, may I interject for just a moment? In the last 3 minutes, a note was sent to me by the provincial treasurer wishing to make a statement at the end of the question period dealing with the first line of questions which the Leader of the Opposition did raise. And it came to me in the form that he had just been notified. So please now continue. No wonder, honourable member for Edmonton Highlands. I don't wish to get into dialogue with you. I have the note here. I had already just sent a note back to the minister saying at the end of question period he would be able to make whatever his comments were, and that the Leader of the Opposition would then have opportunity to reply, followed by the final comment by the treasurer. Order, please. This is just a matter of clarification for the House. Thank you, Edmonton Kingsway. Button up, Edmonton Kingsway. Now, County Mountain View, please continue.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. The facts indicates that this announcement was received here at 1:47 p.m. this afternoon from Calgary. So in responding to the question from the Leader of the Opposition this afternoon, the provincial treasurer tried to leave the impression these layoffs were not coming. So I'm going to ask the provincial treasurer if he was either unaware of this announcement, or was it a deliberate attempt to throw off the Leader of the Opposition from his questions, and indeed perhaps to mislead the Assembly about the layoffs coming?
Mr. Speaker, the answer will show what the member from Norwood said. Would you respond to a rumor? And I said, no, I will not respond to a rumor. And at the end of question period, I'll provide more details, Mr. Speaker, with respect to what has been revealed to us since the question period was called at 2:30.
Well, Mr. Speaker, there are 116,000 unemployed Albertans in this province, And this announcement by Novotel today only adds hundreds of fellow Albertans to this figure. It also puts the lie to the efforts by this government to try and talk about economic growth and prosperity in this province. There's certainly no economic growth for these Calgarians and their families who are now facing unemployment. Mr. Speaker, given that the unemployment in Calgary has skyrocketed from 6.7% in March of a year ago to 8.3% in March of this year, plus these additional layoffs being announced, how can the Premier justify his government's do-nothing approach to job creation in Calgary and elsewhere in the province?
Do nothing. Do nothing.
Mr. Speaker, I see he tried to switch where he wants the question to go, so I'll be happy to explain to him, as we've explained to people all over Canada, that Alberta is the only province in this country that is strong and growing and healthy and diversified. Alberta is the only province with a balanced budget. Alberta, as the budget document pointed out, will be creating some 20,000 new jobs in this province. As well, Mr. Speaker, we will be taking in a lot of people who are moving here because they see the place to where they want to place their future is in Alberta, a strong, healthy Alberta. They're getting away from that NDP bunch in Ontario. Right. They want to head here, where they know they're going to have a future and a strong, healthy future. That's the message I'd like the honourable member to have.
Good message.
Edmonton Calder. Edmonton Calder, not Belmont.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in spite of the fact that the Minister of Health has allocated some money for children's mental health, there still is no plan for spending, no priority list for projects, and no assessment of what the most critical needs of these children are. As a result, Mr. Speaker, the only way that many families can access services for their child who may suffer from a mental illness is to give up custody of their child to the child welfare system. To the Minister of Health, when will this minister commit to a single point of entry for children who suffer from a mental illness in order that they can receive proper assessment and referral to services and can remain in the custody of their families where they belong?
Mr. Speaker, I'm very much in agreement with the honourable member that it is lamentable that one of the previous routes to assistance for mental health was only through the child welfare system. That is changing, albeit not as quickly as some of us would like. And this year, our increased endowment of $1 million on top of the too many already dedicated specifically for mental health for children will mean that we'll be adding an additional 27 full-time positions within our mental health clinics for the specific purpose of dealing with children.
Mr. Speaker, recently a report was issued entitled Let's Get On With It, and I'm sure that the Minister is familiar with this. It had input from many groups, many community agencies. Mr. Speaker, given that they identify a desperate need for emergency treatment in beds on a 24-hour basis, will the Minister act immediately to ensure these services are made available to children who so desperately need them?
Mr. Speaker, I don't pretend to have all the answers with respect to how we might best implement our children's mental health initiatives, but in fact the Edmonton Regional Planning Council, which is made up of all the heads of all of the acute and the public health agencies in Edmonton, has identified children's mental health as one of the key priorities that they want to look at in terms of the inpatient capacity. As well, children's mental health goes far beyond just the inpatient capacity, and we have to look at the community support system. And as a result, our interdepartmental working group is working with the community agencies, including the non-government agencies, to make sure that the coordination of these new and expanded dollars go to the service most needed for children and their mental health.
Edmonton Whitemud.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. During the last few days, we have witnessed a tremendous outcry at this government for their attack on programs for seniors, additional user fees, increased costs, tax on their air, on the oxygen that they use. Now I am informed that seniors who are enticed into two-bedroom subsidized units are being pressured into moving into one-bedroom units, creating significant disruption and inconvenience for them. To the Premier, Mr. Speaker, I'm going to make an appeal to the Premier. Will the Premier intervene on behalf of seniors in this province to put an end to this unnecessary pressure on them by his government's drastic changes and programs which so dramatically affect their lifestyles?
Mr. Speaker, it's a matter that the Minister of Municipal Affairs would be responsible for, and I'd ask him to respond.
Mr. Speaker, there is no policy as such as the honourable member has outlined. I'd be very interested in the case that he has in mind, but as far as a policy directive from this minister or from the government, there has been none to that effect, and there should be no circumstances created as the honourable member has outlined to this Assembly.
Mr. Speaker, to the minister responsible for housing, when we supply the material that we're prepared to supply indicating pressure on seniors to relocate from the two-bedroom units to the one-bedroom units, will the minister give this House his assurances that he will direct Alberta Mortgage and Housing Corporation to put a halt to this pressure?
Mr. Speaker, I repeat again, as a government and as a minister, I have given no directive to that effect. If that kind of directive exists in the system, I will deal with it. But as far as I'm concerned, there isn't a directive to that effect. If one of the foundations or one of the housing authorities across the province are dealing with the seniors in that effect, I will discuss the matter with them directly and reach a settlement that is satisfactory.
Let us know who it is.
Smoky River.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Referring to a document published by the Leader of the Opposition February 20th, 91, entitled Savings for Albertans, Ending Waste Without Cutting Quality. He suggests that the foreign offices are ineffective and indeed should be closed. This is displays their usual effective thinking here. It's true display of it. To the Minister of Federal and Intergovernmental Affairs, would the minister share with the Assembly just what is the purpose of these offices and what purpose do they serve?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I noted with interest the document referred to by the honourable member as having been put out by the Leader of the Opposition, and of course it is so typical of the short-sightedness of the opposition.
That's for sure.
All they're interested in doing is applauding when jobs are lost and opposing the creation of new jobs.
Exactly.
That's all the opposition is interested in seeing, Mr. Speaker. I tabled in this Assembly for consideration by all Albertans a report on Alberta's international offices. It's relatively brief and it's fairly easy to read. Even members of the opposition should be able to understand the facts that are disclosed in this document. And I point out that in one fiscal year, ending at the end of March of this year, over 1,256 Alberta companies have been served by the 6 offices which we have. Now, I note that the Leader of the Opposition had proposed that we should only have 3. And that, of course, is, quite frankly, if we were to be in that position, it would put us, in terms of other provinces, behind Nova Scotia, behind Saskatchewan, and behind or in the same level as Manitoba. Quite frankly, Mr. Speaker, it is so foolish in the extreme to think about pulling in the salesman when we really need people out in the world, in the global marketplace of the world, to promote Alberta as a place to do business. Supplementary, brief.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Quoting further from the document, I quote, by ending junkets and cutting staff, enormous savings could be incorporated. To the Minister of Economic Development and Trade, would this move indeed result in a savings to Alberta, or what would be the financial ramifications to this province?
Mr. Speaker, I'm glad that the honourable member from Smoky River has again highlighted the New Democratic policy of forget about jobs but create welfare. They want welfare, we want jobs. It's important to note, Mr. Speaker, that the NDP want welfare, we want jobs, because the exportation of goods from this province plays a very important role as it relates to the economic well-being of this province. It is estimated by senior economists that for every $1 billion worth of goods, there's some 19,000 jobs created within the province of Alberta. If you were to equate that to our some $17 billion worth of products and services that we export, it's so crucial that we have access to markets other than our own. And that is why we have our offices. That is why we've adopted a threefold policy to trade. Firstly, the U.S. and our support of the Free Trade Agreement, which the Canada West Foundation just recently indicated as a 2-year report. It has been very positive as it relates to the province of Alberta in the creation of jobs. Secondly, we want to make sure that we have added access to the Pacific Rim and also to Europe 1992. Mr. Speaker, the bottom line is these offices, as the Deputy Premier indicated, create jobs for the residents of the province of Alberta.
Edmonton Kingsway. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 4 years ago, this government decided to bail out Northwest Trust and Heritage Trust rather than let those companies go bankrupt. The government did so by rolling their soft properties, both mortgages and real estate, into a company known as Softco. The Treasurer said at the time he got the $277 million from the Canada Deposit Insurance Corporation that this bailout would not cost Alberta taxpayers 1 cent. Now, given that Softco's deficit 2 years ago was $30 million, and that's the last statement we have, has the Treasurer not released further financial statements because he's afraid there'll be some bad news for Alberta's taxpayers?
Mr. Speaker, if there's anything that's good news, it's good news for Alberta about Northwest Trust. And I'm surprised that the member continues to go down this alley of questioning because it is a blind head for him, I can assure you. Let me describe what happened with respect to the Northwest Trust transaction, since the member has raised a confusing point about it. First of all, Northwest Trust was stripped of all its non-performing loans, real estate in particular, and the real estate was moved to another company. That real estate had a valuation of about $300 million or so at that time. In the meantime, CDIC, who is the Federal Depository Guarantee Federal Agency, federal government, transferred to Northwest Trust some $277 million. So, Speaker, what we ended up with was a perfectly clean company with new money, federal government money, and the province of Alberta ended up with $300 million worth of real estate assets, which did not cost the province of Alberta anything. Now, if that isn't a good deal for Albertans, I don't know what is, Mr. Speaker. Now, what that's enabled Alberta to do is the following. First of all, everyone knows that one of the very important elements for expansion of the private sector, generating new investment, providing financing opportunities for new investors in this province, is to have access to a pool of capital, to be able to borrow money, to be able to expand their businesses. Speaker, we were able to do that, to stabilize that financial institution at a time when there's some question about financial integrity of the firms here in Alberta. They're stabilized, they're performing, and now Northwest Trust has an equity of well over $100 million. $100 million in equity, Mr. Speaker. The second thing that we were able to do, Mr. Speaker, was control the sale of the assets given to us by the federal government so that we did not impact on the market. Gradually selling them into the marketplace, gradually moving them to the private sector where they belong, and managing both processes so it doesn't disrupt the economy, but still sustaining the importance of Northwest.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, of course, what they did was give all the good properties to their friends and left the taxpayers holding the bag on the bad properties. Given that the bank debt of Softco
It wasn't a question.
It was a statement.
Sit down. Sit
It was
down.
a statement.
The honourable member for Edmonton Kingsway has fallen into a trap of his own making, but he's not the only one to do it in this last week. There have been a number of other members who have asked rhetorical questions, but the problem is it's a question. It takes So I'm sure in future all honourable members will just ask questions. Now, would you like to proceed with a succinct supplementary?
Yeah.
I made a statement, not a question, but that's all right, beside the point. Mr. Speaker, the bank debt guaranteed by the province has now grown to $130 million for Softco's bank debt. Now, considering that Softco is also paying on $80 million worth of promissory notes to Northwest Trust, isn't it true that these notes are being paid by borrowing money at the bank, and that money is guaranteed by the taxpayers of this province, and that we do stand to lose money if that continues?
Mr. Speaker, I know that the member is confused. I'm sure anybody who listened to that question would be confused as well. I've explained what happened, Mr. Speaker. Northwest Trust is generating money. This past year, the company made $7 million profit, Mr. Speaker. Profit, Mr. Speaker.
Treasurer, please take his place. Honourable member for Kingsway, on about 3 other occasions this afternoon, I've had to call out to you to just keep from yelling across the floor. Now, the same thing is happening here. You've asked your second question. Order, please. The chair has allowed you to continue, but now you've interrupted the Treasurer 3 times in his attempt to make reply to your question. Now, please, you have to learn the rules of the House and stop that interruption. Thank you, Honourable Leader of the Opposition. You're not involved in this. You're not involved in it. Thank you. Now, Provincial Treasurer, briefly. Order, please. Provincial Treasurer.
This is really tough on me, Mr. Speaker. I can't provide the information to Albertans who want to know what's happening with Northwest Trust. Speaker, we have and will continue to provide information in the House, filing the returns of Northwest Trust, the returns of Softco. And what I can say is that we expect that by the end of 1991, we'll essentially be out of the real estate assets. We'll have sold them gradually back into the marketplace, and we'll then wind up the so-called real estate soft company. But in the meantime, we'll have stabilized a very important trust company. We'll have provided profits in the trust company, and then, Mr. Speaker, then we will put the trust company back into the private sector where it belongs, cleaned up, stabilized, providing services to the business people in Alberta, and the real estate will have been moved off into the private sector's hands. All of that will be accomplished for no money on behalf of the taxpayers of Alberta, all paid for by the federal government. And to my mind, that's what government's about, doing things for the private sector, stabilizing the economy where necessary, and getting on with the job of making this economy very strong for Albertans.
Provincial Treasurer, briefly, and then the Leader of the Opposition, and then the Provincial Treasurer once more.
Mr. Speaker, I wanted to comment that during question period, apparently Novotel did make a press announcement with respect to restructuring in the Calgary office, the Calgary operation. It is a restructuring, as I said in the House. We had expected, as the Minister of Technology, Research and Telecommunication had explained before, additional restructuring of the company was necessary. I understand that through the question period, Novotel did make an announcement, Mr. Speaker, with respect to Calgary. Additional details will be provided, I'm sure, at the end of question period through the Novotel company. I can't comment on them, but the Minister will return. He'll be able to handle those questions, Mr. Speaker. But I want to say that I was not responding to rumors. The information took place after question period, and that information is available now through the normal press situation.
Leader of the Opposition.
Right
It's because of this government's bungling that we own this particular company, Mr. Speaker. And I find it hard to believe that the provincial treasurer, with a major announcement that we heard about, wasn't aware of it, Mr. Speaker. And my question to this government is this. Why wasn't this announcement made in the legislature, Mr. Speaker, instead of hearing it secondhand? If the treasurer says he didn't know, I take his word on it. But it should have been done in the legislature. Why wasn't it?
Mr. Speaker, first of all, let me make 2 points. First of all, this company has always been in the government's indirect or direct ownership through the Alberta Government Telephones AGT Commission, and therefore it's always been part of our assets, attempting to expand the telecommunications industry, and it has in fact been an effective way in which to operate. It has gone through the changes in the global marketplace in which telecommunications, the recession of other parts of the world, has impacted this entity. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, this is a decision that's made by a board of management appointed by the government, given the responsibility to deal with these problems, to handle the restructuring question, and they're doing just that. We believe and trust these people can handle it. They're the ones who are close to the information, and they work on an agenda which I think is an economic agenda based on the best interests of the company.
Orders of the day. Might we revert briefly to the introduction of special